So Trump was 1,000% right when it came to the border. As soon as Biden took over as president, he screwed the pooch in more ways than one. But before we get started, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below. It helps with the algorithm. From the Daily Wire, Biden administration considers restarting border wall construction to plug gaps amid Biden's border crisis. So guys, they're just plugging in the gaps. They're not building three fences or anything. They just have to fill in the holes in the fence in which they stopped constructing to spite Donald Trump. Day one, what was day one policy of Joe Biden? To stop the construction of the border wall. And now we see the consequences of being soft on immigration. You have a record breaking amount of unaccompanied children crossing the border and a record breaking amount of people crossing our border into our nation. They say it's a 20-year high, but the DHS has only been around for 20 years. You need to look into other organizations to see when this was maxed out. This may potentially be the highest rate of illegal immigration into the United States from the southern border in the history of our country, but there's no way to easily determine that. I'm still in the process of researching. From the Daily Wire, the Biden administration is reportedly considering restarting the construction of former President Donald Trump's wall along the U.S.-Mexico border as the administration struggles to maintain control of the worsening border crisis. The Biden Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said during a conversation with ICE employees last week that the administration was considering finishing gaps in the wall. So that sounds like, so I have a backyard. Right now, if I were to only have two sides of my yard fenced in, it wouldn't do a very good job keeping my dogs in the yard. Now, would it? I would have to complete the fence. And that's what Donald Trump wanted to do. And everybody called him a fascist and a nationalist, a white nationalist. Oh my goodness, guys. He just hates people from Mexico. No, people love people from Mexico. My wife is from Mexico. However, this is the United States of America. What's the point of being a country if we're not going to recognize our own borders? That's how bananas the Democrats are. They don't recognize their own borders. So while Nancy Pelosi has 10-foot walls around her compound in San Francisco because people want to even poop in her driveway because she's such a poor politician, they don't want a wall along our border. They don't care about the normies. They don't care about the plebs. And that just goes to show the elitism amongst the Democrats. It's not a single answer to a single question. There are different projects that Chief of the Border Patrol has presented and the acting commissioner of CBP presented to me, Mayorkas said. According to notes of the ICE session reviewed by the Washington Times, the president has communicated quite clearly his decision that the emergency that triggered the devotion of DoD funds to the construction of the border wall is ended. But that leaves room to make decisions as part of the administration, in particular areas of the wall that need renovation, particular projects that need to be finished. Oh my goodness. It's almost like they're saying they now need to build Biden's border wall. Biden is the nationalist. Biden hates brown people as he throws them in record numbers in cages at 1,700% capacity. You have these little plastic bubbles designed for 70 kids that are housing 780 kids. This is due to Joe Biden's policy. This is due to Joe Biden's hatred of people of color. Like I said before, the only thing Biden has ever accomplished is caging people of color, whether it be black children and black adults from the creation of that school to prison pipeline due to the 1994 crime bill, or now that as president of the United States, he's throwing tens of thousands of brown kids in cages for longer than they're legally allowed to be in conditions that I wouldn't even allow my dog to live in. That's how Democrats treat people of color. They're treating them so poorly, it would make segregationists blush. It would make white nationalists blush. It would make Nazis blush in those conditions. I'm seeing pictures from Auschwitz. You see that even the people in Auschwitz, in death camps in World War II Germany, had more space and were probably had better accommodations than these kids here in the United States. And that is the problem. You are soft on immigration, so people take advantage of that. And guess what you have to do? You now have to stack two kids up, basically sleeping on top of each other like a litter of puppies. Because tolerance, guys, we're so tolerant, we're going to just inhumanely treat children because we're just the party of tolerance, guys. Jumping over to the New York Post, 2 Yemeni men on the FBI's terror watch list arrested at the southern border. 2 Yemeni men on the FBI's terror watch list were arrested in recent months for illegally entering the U.S. from Mexico, federal authorities said Monday. The men, ages 33 and 26, were busted near the Calexico port of entry in California in separate incidents on January 29th and March 30th. So they're not connected. Separated by 2 months, 2 terror suspects from Yemen were captured illegally crossing into the country 2 months apart. How many other people on the terrorist watch list have slipped through the cracks over the course of that 2-month period? The older man was found with a mobile SIM card under the insole of his shoe, CBD said. Customs. I don't know what CBD is. I just know the drug. Record checks conducted after both men were caught revealed they were on a government watch list for terrorism suspects and a no-fly list. So they say there's no evidence terrorists are coming to this country. That's just a Republican talking point, guys. It's okay. It's okay to have 170,000 people a month illegally cross our border, and that's just who we catch. That's not the people who don't want to be found. I'm pretty sure these 2 gentlemen didn't want to be found, and they just happened to be found. So we need to figure out who's crossing our border. Joe Biden needs to take a tough stance on the border. They're talking about finishing the border wall and upping the technology so they can better capture people trying to enter our country. That's even worse than Donald Trump. Donald Trump just wanted a 30-foot tall concrete wall from sea to shining sea. This is the Democrat platform. Cage brown kids, cage brown people, cage people of color, segregate, have a white-only space. Have your minority-only space. This is the critical race theory platform. And finally, from the Daily Wire. Not finally, but the U.S. has nearly 19,000 kids picked up traveling alone across the Mexican border in March. Largest monthly number ever tallied. 19,000 kids. 19,000. And Kamala is on it. So says the Daily Wire. But 19,000 kids. I told you, Joe Biden going soft on unaccompanied minors coming into the country. You're going to see parents just drop kids off. I've done a video on this. You're going to have parents drop kids off a mile or 2 away from the border and say, go that way. Tell them I died. Tell them you want to live in America. And of these 19,000 unaccompanied kids, how are they going to match them up with their family back at home? Well, they're not. So they still blame Trump for separating families at the border because you don't know if they're traveling with coyotes or sex traffickers or drug traffickers or members of the cartel. You don't know. And they said, there's still hundreds of kids that you can't find their family. You don't know that that's their family, for one. And two, there was even reporting saying that the family didn't want the kids. The family said, keep the kid in America. I don't want that kid to come back to El Salvador, the murder capital of the world, because I don't want my kid kidnapped and pulled into the cartel. Bananas. And finally, from Morgan Mars, have a feeling we'll be getting a whole new list from Siraj Hashmi. What a relief. My son just hugged me and said, Mommy, no more kids in cages. Tears of joy and tears of sadness. That's from Adina Menzel. And going to Breaking 911 yesterday, April 7th, 2021. Breaking news, Texas governor reveals abuse allegations where 1,300 migrant children are being held at Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio. Children at this facility are being sexually assaulted. This is what Democrats want. This is considered competence to Julian Castro and Joaquin Castro, those horrible politicians who said this is what competence looks like. Nancy Pelosi says this is the goal or something along those lines. Like, this is the game plan. This is how it should be run. Kids being sexually assaulted in cages is what Democrats want. Every day we keep going, and it just proves conspiracy theorists right. Democrats like the sexual assaulting of little kids. They put these little kids in facilities. What do you think's going to happen? They're not performing background checks on the prison guards. They're not performing background checks on the family that these kids are going to. What do you think is going to happen? But all in the name of tolerance. The orange man is bad, and now you're stuck with something worse. If you voted for Joe Biden, you voted for kids at the border, for kids now in San Antonio to be sexually assaulted by Democrat law enforcement, by Democrat politicians, by Democrats writ. Just point stop, right? This is what you voted for. You voted for a crisis at the border. You voted for airstrikes against Syrian civilians. You voted for taking away your free speech rights, your Second Amendment rights, your technological rights, your freedom of association. Now they're talking about vaccine passports. They're just wanting to strip away your rights, one piece of armor at a time. The Constitution be damned. Democrats only want to take away your freedoms. Yet the orange man was bad, and you feel better because the orange man is not president, because you have people like Jim Acosta saying, oh, we all have post-Trump stress disorder, making fun of actual veterans, people who've actually done something with their lives other than suckle at the teat of some Democrat for their entire life. Ridiculous. If you voted for Joe Biden, you need to take a long look in the mirror and figure out why you're okay with children being sexually assaulted in an immigration facility here in San Antonio. So that's going to be it for now, friends. I might drop another video later, depending on the time. I have a few work appointments going on today. If not, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.